Arigato gozaimasu! Hey guys, welcome back to Live, Love, Life, and Travel. This is your girl Shamika, and today I wanted to talk about what I have learned about Japanese and Japanese culture, even though I have actually never been to Japan. So, when you're traveling through Southeast Asia, or when you're traveling anywhere, you don't only come across the locals, you also come across all the other people who are traveling. You come across so many different backgrounds, from different cultures, different nationalities, from different countries, and you learn a lot about other countries, even though you've actually never been to that country, from the people who are actually born and raised there. And one of the cultures that I'm really intrigued by is Japanese culture, and I'm really curious about them because you don't see a lot of Japanese people traveling. Japanese people travel, I think, even less than Americans travel, because they have a really strict sort of conservative, work is everything, success is everything culture that is not a thing to do there. And so when I do run into them, not only am I intrigued by them, they also actually seem pretty intrigued by me. A lot of them always approach me and ask me if I want to go out for drinks, if I want to hang out. I always ask a lot of questions because I'm really interested in their culture. And so what? My first time I was traveling through Thailand, I met my first Japanese African, and I didn't even know that exists. I mean, I kind of know, like, logically that there's probably darker skinned people who are born and raised in Japan, but you just don't see it a lot. And so, yeah, like, he was brown skinned, just as brown as I was, but he had Japanese facial features, but he was completely brown. And so he kept saying, like, oh yeah, I'm Japanese, da 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 da, and I was like, not to be rude, but yeah, you're kind of tan. And then as I listened to his story, he went on saying that he was actually born and raised in Africa, and that is not that rare as you think it may be. Actually, there's a fishing village in Africa. I can't remember which part of Africa, but a lot of the Japanese from generations ago went over to Africa to start up their own fishing businesses, and a lot of them just stayed and lived there and then married women there and had African wives and then birthed their children. And so he was basically talking to us and saying the difference between his life in Africa and his life in Japan. He spent most of his childhood and adolescence in Africa. I think he went to school for a bit in America, but then he spent most of his university years in Japan, and he got a job in Japan. And he basically said in so many words, and this is no offense to anybody, that he preferred Africa. And not to say Africa is lazy or a lazy country, he was just saying that they're just so much laid back and relaxed and don't take themselves so seriously, and yeah man, and that's Shamika. But in Japan everything's so strict and rigid, and it's almost like to the point where if you make a mistake at work, your employer doesn't really have to explain the mistake that you made because you're Japanese and you should already know the standards that Japanese are held up to, so you should already know what you did wrong. It's almost like and vice versa, like if you were an American and you went to work in Japan, if you made a mistake, it's almost like, ah, silly little foreigner, you just don't understand our standards, so it's okay, we'll like dumb it down for you. But for Japanese, it's just like you are just held to a higher standard, and that is it. So I thought that was interesting that he loves Japan, but he says that his personality is just more back with Africa, where it's just more like, you know, life is great, don't take it so seriously, man, you know what I mean? And then I actually traveled with another guy from Japan for like a month, and I picked a little brain and asked him a bunch of little, just like silly questions that you wonder, like, why do they do that? So I asked them, why do Japanese girls do this? Why do they do that all the time? I mean, it's really cute and adorable, but why do they do that? I actually thought it was because it was a Western thing, that they saw some famous Justin Bieber-like celebrity do that, and now they're doing it because, yeah, I'm a stupid American and I think that everybody copies America because we are great, or blah blah blah. But he actually said that it started off because it made their faces look smaller, that they used to just put it in front of their face like that to make their face look smaller, or they used to put their hands closer to the camera, so because their head is farther away and their hand is closer to the camera, it made their faces look smaller. And in Japan and many other cultures, they take beauty really seriously. Your aesthetics is really important, and having a smaller face is a thing or a trend or is considered beautiful in Japan. And so they do that to make themselves look like they had a smaller face. And even in Thailand, I've noticed, I don't see the older people doing this, but I see the kids, they do this. They do this in front of their face. So it's not this, but it's this, and it's also like to make their face look smaller. And so I was like, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. And you know, like they cover their mouths to show their eyes. They have a thing with their eyes and stuff like that. But yeah, he said now, like maybe girls don't do it as much for that reason, and it's just sort of a thing now. But that's how it started off. So that was my first question. The other question they asked him is, why do Japanese and Japanese porn blur the private parts? I mean, it's porn. We know what they're doing, and sometimes the pixelated is not even that pixelated. So it's almost like, what's the point of pixelating it? I always thought it was just against the law for them to show that in the Japanese porn, and he actually said it's not a law. Like he says, I don't really understand why they pixelate the private parts in Japanese porn either. He did continue to say that he thinks it's because some places just will not distribute your porn if you don't pixelate or blur out the private parts. So your porn is more commercially available to the masses if you blur it out, and if you don't blur it out, then less people will distribute your porn to the public or not. Also, he went on to explain to me that Japan is not as expensive as people think it is. It is expensive in Tokyo, but people kind of get scared away from maybe visiting Japan because they think they need lots of money to travel or visit Japan or take a holiday in Japan. And he says not necessarily. He said he is in no way rich whatsoever, and he lives in Japan just fine. He says that everyone goes to Tokyo, and Tokyo, yes, is the most expensive place because it's the big city and that's where everyone wants to go. But he's like, even if you're in Tokyo, there's ways to make your travel cheap in Japan. He was like sushi. There's a lot of places that sell good and cheap sushi. You just have to do your research and know where to go. Or also, if you go to the market, the fish market, where the fish comes in, there's a lot of sushi stands that sell sushi really cheap and it's super fresh. Also, if you travel outside of Tokyo to the smaller countries, you can start to travel really cheap. You just have to do your research, know where the cheap hostels are, know where the cheap restaurants are. But it is possible to travel to Japan on a budget. So, yeah. And then the people that I've met from Japan, a lot of them who are traveling because that's sort of not in their culture are looked kind of, not down upon, but they're kind of like outcast in their country. Because a lot of them who I've met who are traveling who are Japanese are usually artists or musicians and just more free-spirited, more free thinkers, just not into the whole conservative or the conformity of their society. And so, yeah, so that was so it's rare to see Japanese people travel, and the ones that I do see travel are usually saying like, yeah, like I'm not your normal Japanese. I am, you know, my family doesn't agree with me traveling right now. They think I should be working. I'm a musician or I'm an artist, and I'm kind of like an outsider of my family. So that was really, I mean, it's sad, but it's interesting to see that. So that is basically it. That's what I've learned about Japanese and Japanese culture, even though I've never been to Japan. And sure, I probably should do a video about what I learned about Thai and Thai culture, because I am in Thailand. But I just thought it'd be fun to talk about Japan for a while, because I talk about Thailand all the time. So yeah, that's it. I would definitely be going to visit Japan at some point. Japanese I know was arigato gozaimasu. Onamae is, what is your name? Shimika-san. Sayonara. And ichi, ni, san, chi, go. Oh, that's all the Japanese I know. I learned it in high school. So yeah, stay safe, guys. If you have any questions or any comments, if you've actually been to Japan and you want to share your experience or things that you learned about Japanese or the Japanese culture, please feel free to comment. If you are Japanese and you're saying, hey, what you're saying right now is completely bullshit, then I am sorry. I am just repeating what I was told by the people who live there. But comment and let me know. Yeah, so that's it. If you want to have any comments or questions, let me know. If you want to share this video, please share it. If you want to like this video, please like it. If you want to continue to follow my journey of this beautiful game called life, please subscribe. Thank you guys from Live, Love, Life, and Travel.